Yeah, it's fun. It's just, you know, you got to make changes when life is in there, right? So,
Yep.
So here we are again. We're with Carrie Young, and she wanted to do another interview with me because now we're deep into Pajama Game. We're it's 1 week, but holy cow, you guys have already blocked the whole show.
A week?
And well, a week and a week and a Saturday. And a Saturday, yeah. Yeah, that's it. It does feel like longer,
I've been so worried and stressed and excited about it that it feels like, like Christmas. You're just like, can't wait. But then it's like, so it's been a week, but it feels like it's been a month.
Right. No, I know. I know exactly what you mean. So
okay, so your first show directing.
Right.
You pulled together an amazing team.
Yeah, and
so you've got a music director that's phenomenal and fun and so accepting.
And she's very mad at me.
So, is she mad at you now?
She is. No, the reason that she's mad at me is because she said I wanted to be in the show, the first show that you ever directed.
To be in it. I actually thought about that. I thought, well, if you ever have a chance to direct, that means you can't be in it. So
that's right.
You just get to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
But then you're more like take on the role of like parent, where you just get to be proud of them and what they've accomplished. And that's right.
Well, and the neat part is it is kind of more of an encouraging role, which is something that I love.
Yes.
Because
you're mentoring.
It really is just about mentoring and about encouraging them to do and to play and to have fun and to do what they want to do. Yeah.
Right, which you've been doing a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you.
So this interview that I'm doing, I would be doing even if I wasn't in the show, just because I'm just very interested to know what you do. But because I am, I have like some insider, experience with your directing your first show. So that's kind of fun.
So we should probably start out with how it all came together, though. Even just the opportunity to direct.
Well, yeah. Did we talk about that last time?
I don't know. Did we talk about it last time?
I thought we did, but maybe we
Let's
should
do a
review.
very brief
Let's
recap.
review.
Brief recap.
Yes, how did this? You've been in 27 shows.
Yep.
And you were just asked to direct.
Yep. And the reason.
How did this come about?
So the reason I was asked to direct was because I was in the last year's dinner theater.
Oh, okay.
Farmington Dinner Theater.
Is that the?
That was Murder on the Orient Express.
Okay.
Yeah, and the thing is that as we were going through it, it just made common sense for the owner of the train to be the one that does the beginning announcements.
And you got to.
And so I got to do that, and so I got to interact with Tia, she's over the Parks and Recs for the city to help set up all of these things. So
she was the one that was there in the auditions.
Yep.
Correct. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And so she called me up probably about maybe 3 months, not even 3 months later. I think it was January when she called me. And she just said, hey, we're needing someone to do the dinner theater. Would you like to direct? And I was like, absolutely, I would love to direct. So
very cool. Does that mean director? Okay, so directing, does that mean you get to choose the show? Or did they choose the show and they asked you to direct it?
No.
They asked
me what I would like to
and
direct.
That's why you chose the one you chose, and then it got shut down.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something that might be good to talk about too, because even though I've seen like several different theaters around us do it within the last year or two, it was My Fair Lady. Mm-hmm. They had done it, in the last couple of years, and then it turns out that the touring company decided to announce that they're going to go on tour, and because they were going on tour, they shut down all of the rights for everybody.
Local.
And that was within a week after we had decided we wanted the show.
Oh. And you're going, I gotta pick another one.
So now I got less time, and I have to pick a show, and so I said, you know what, we can do.
So why did you pick this one? And this is a show. I had my score. I was gonna bring it to show. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Doris Day, but for some reason I had never heard or ever seen this one.
Actually,
and anybody that I talked to, like nobody's heard of this.
Yeah.
So, how did you know about this show, The Pajama Game?
Yep.
How did you know about this one, and what helped you decide to choose it?
So, interesting. I was throwing out a couple of different ideas, but it was too small of a cast, which is interesting because it's a dinner theater, but they wanted to have a little bit bigger cast.
Okay.
Just because it's one of those things where it's understanding, can you sell the show, with a smaller cast? It's easier to sell a show with a bigger cast
because all their family wants to come watch it. Of course.
Right? And so that's the way
I think I'll fill 2 nights just with
yourself.
Just with my own family and friends that they're like, I had on Sunday, somebody said to me, my neighbor said to me, oh, you need to post it on the neighborhood group. And I was like, I'm not that brave. Like, I'm brave enough to be in it. I don't know about telling people that I'm in it.
You're being in
it. Most of my family doesn't know. I still haven't told.
It's fun. So the way that it came about was I was throwing out some ideas, but none of them seemed to really feel very good. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I don't know. What do you think we can get the quickest rights to? And so she looked up a bunch that were like immediate rights.
Because you needed to get it. You didn't have time for it.
For them to ship us all of the information and that type of thing, or for them to think about, can we let them do this show and that type of thing. And so in the list, there was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and there was a couple of others that it didn't really feel good. But then I saw the Pajama Game, and I remembered in high school, I did the Pajama Game. I was playing the drum set in it. And it was one of the funnest shows that I've ever done because there's just so many different varieties of songs that are involved in it. Like, some really great, soft shoe numbers. There could be the tap numbers,
and
but then there's
group
fast
party
and energetic.
Numbers, and then the knife thrower guys.
Yeah.
There's just some fun.
There was some really fun, and it's huge. And I was like, I haven't seen somebody do the Pajama Game for years. For years. And so I thought, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just play around with this and let's do it. And then as we kept meeting and as we kept doing different things, I was like, I want to make this so that it's something totally different than what anybody else is doing. And so the first thing that she said was, you got to find a really good team of people. Right. And she said, for you, the reason that I asked you to direct was because, I'm going to be completely honest, I Facebook stalked you and social media stalked you on every platform I can think of. And you have a lot of followers, but you also have a lot of people that interact with your videos on a constant basis, or your images on a constant basis. And you're constantly on there texting and communicating to other people. And so I was very impressed with that. And so I thought, he's got to have a really good group of friends. Mm-hmm. So first person that I ever thought of for music directing was Becca. And we're on the board at the Hope Box together at this time. Mm-hmm. I'm no longer on the board because I'm the operations manager now. That would be a conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. So I thought, I got to get Becca, and then I got to get a really good choreographer. But then I was thinking, I could find a good choreographer that the Hope Box has used before, or I could give somebody an opportunity where I saw that they had the talent and maybe have never done this before. And so that's when Maddie came up.
That's so cool.
And Maddie was our, what do you call them?
I don't know.
She was the dance captain for Sound of Music.
Oh, she was?
Not Sound of Music, Sister Act.
Oh, for Sister Act. Okay, yeah.
She was the dance captain for Sister Act. And so she did a great job as the dance captain. She knew the dances, from day one, it seemed like she just went back home and learned all the dances and then just did it. And it was really incredible to watch her work in Sister Act. So then I thought, hey, how would you like to
choreograph a whole show? Was she a little
a little shocked, but I think
excited for the opportunity.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
She was so excited for the opportunity. She was it was one of those pieces that she had never done it before, and she had been thinking about it. And so I asked her, what's your background in dance? And she said, oh, well, I've been dancing since I was 12 or something like that. Mm-hmm. She's taken all these different dance classes, tap and everything like that. And I was like, really? You are totally overqualified for this position. Yeah. So I want you on my team. And then I said, do you think your mom would be willing to costume the show?
Is it her mom or her grandma?
So her mom is Heather Cook.
Okay.
Heather Cook. I'm going to get that wrong now. I'm going to feel really embarrassed. But she was a little too busy to do it. And she said, oh, but my mom, Julie, she has done lots of costuming for lots of different shows, and she'd love to do it, I'm sure. And so I was like, okay, can you give me your number? I got her number, but then I can't remember what happened. I think I spaced it, or I got a new phone or something like that, and I lost the number. But I got the rest of my team together. Spencer Bodden was Curtis in Sister Act.
Okay.
And he was building props for Sister Act, and then he started building props for Drowsy Chaperone as well.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought, maybe he'd like to do set design. And then I asked Tia about it, and Tia knew him as a set designer because they've used him in previous shows for Farmington.
Oh. I
was like, really?
So she said, yes, you want him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she was like, you need him. And so I asked him, and he said, yeah. And then Charlotte, I know from a long time ago. And of course, I would never think of anybody but Justina to stage manage. Yeah, because she is just, when it comes to stage managers, she's like the example and then some. Yeah. She goes above and beyond in every way as a stage manager.
And very reliable too.
Yeah.
You can always depend on her.
Super reliable.
She's a little scary, I will say.
Intimidating.
It's like, oh, don't make Justina mad.
But the thing is that when you know
but that's
her,
good. No, that's true. That's true. No, just because you're like, I don't want to disappoint you. Like I thought I did.
Right.
Yeah, because I did. I sent you a message I was going to be late.
Yeah.
And then she called me. She's like, where are you? And I said, well, I told Paul I was going to be late. You can't tell Paul. Save my number. You got to tell me. I'm like, okay, sorry.
Yeah, because
so it's good
I get super busy.
Oh, of course, and it shouldn't be you. Right, right.
Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, I mean,
so
that's
great
just one of those.
She takes that on though, so then that leaves you to focus on what you need to focus on.
Yep.
And she can take it, and you know she will.
And the neat part too is that not a lot of stage managers do what she does as well, which is taking notes on the blocking and on who is doing what and who's named for what and that type of thing. She does all of that, where the director would normally be the one that has already gone through the script and been like, let's do this. Where I'm more of the free roaming, creative guy, and so I'm like, whoever thinks that they want to do this part, I want to give you a shot. So let's do it. And so it's been a real pleasure to just kind of sit down and do that.
Yeah.
We were going to do things a little differently in callbacks. We were going to have everybody.
You said something about blind.
Yeah, we were going to do the blind thing, and then the thing is that as the more we thought about it, it was going to take us more time to set it up than we had to create it. To create all of the callbacks and everything like that. And so we were like, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just get everybody in.
It also
everybody
does
singing.
help to see their facial expressions and how they might. Yeah. I would imagine.
But we still did it differently than most because most people are called back for a specific role, right?
Right.
Like it would be Paul and Joe are going to be auditioning. Yeah, they're going to be called back as this person.
Right.
And these people are going to be called back as this person. Where what we did was we said just. Everybody, if you're called as either a soprano alto or as a tenor bass. Okay. And that was how we did the callbacks. Okay. And the interesting thing is that we sent the email out and all of the email went to spam, which was really weird. I didn't
even find it in my spam.
And see, that's the thing is I don't know how much.
I called Ben actually and I was like, did you hear back about callbacks? And he goes, I already did callbacks. I'm like, what? And he told me that. I was like, But
he was in Footloose.
He was in,
we did it while he was there.
But he said, well, yeah, Paul said there was I said, I thought it was an email, but I didn't get anything. And he said, I didn't either. So I think something went up with that. I was like, okay. Because then when I saw you at the show, you said, are you coming? And I'm like, am I? I guess I am.
Yeah, I remember that. And I was like, oh, no, she didn't get it either. So I started making phone calls a couple of days before, and I was like, just come, and here's the music that you want to listen to, and
And I'm really glad you said that to me because I'm like, I have no idea what they want me to do.
Yeah, and so we sent the music, but we didn't send any sides or anything, and then we just had everybody up on stage, and we just went at it with the music, and we let everybody do their
So when
parts.
I came, that was callbacks.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was a fun experience.
My screen blacked out because we haven't been moving the mouse. Anyway, but
okay.
yeah. So then the thing is that we just had people read for specific, not for specific roles, but just
you
to
had
see
them
what
read.
they were doing.
Right. Because you can tell when somebody does one role or a different role, a line, how they would be in maybe perhaps another one anyway, just because of how they are.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had several of them that were video callbacks and things as
okay.
well. So
that's what I was wondering. Like, how many callbacks? Do you feel like you had a good pool to pull from for callbacks?
We had high quality,
okay,
but not high quantity.
That's what I was wondering. Just because the time of year and school starting and things being so busy. And...
they're doing Addams Family in 4 different places right now, and everybody wants to do Addams Family.
Oh.
So like Clearfield Community just opened theirs. Family. Yeah. Oh. Hope Box is doing theirs. Mm-hmm. The Terrace is doing theirs.
Oh, they are too.
Oh yeah. And then there was one other place.
Great Halloween show.
It really is. So we're gonna the Hope Box is doing it this year, but it's like they want to do something completely different for next year.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting process. But anyway, so the point of it is that we were going through, and we just had people read and had people do music, and I think that that's the best way to do callbacks. Yeah, it really is. The way that we had it. I really
appreciated that
interesting.
Too. I appreciated how that was, because I was like, I don't even know what I mean, of course, I am not well experienced in doing anything like this. Like I said, you said just do a monologue, and I'm like, what's a monologue?
Yeah.
But
then your monologue turned out to be one of the best ones we heard.
Really? It was so much fun to do. It was so much fun.
She did Jabberwocky.
I did.
From Alice. Is it
Alice in Wonderland? Lewis Carroll.
Lewis
Carroll wrote it, and I actually went home and watched Alice in Wonderland after that. I don't know that I've ever really watched the whole thing. It's so bizarre.
Yeah. But
there are little hints of things that are in there, like they have a Told You Would, and they have mome raths, and their mome raths are not anything like I portrayed them to be. Yeah. Like when I was doing my monologue, they were kind of scary, but in there, they're these cute little 2-bodied creatures. Like, I don't know. Anyway, it's bizarre. But Lewis Carroll is bizarre, but I kind of loved that about him. Yeah. I love the nonsense words and the whole, what you can do. What can you do with this word? You can make it sound happy. You can make it sound, you can do it however you want. So that's how I.
And that's why it was so much more expressive than most people would do it. I suggest, as a director, look up Jabberwocky and use that as a monologue. It was incredible. Yeah. So that's, after all the callbacks and everything, of course you have to narrow it down, right?
Yeah.
And put it into the different characters.
And who could possibly be this and this? And that was the other thing, is I thought, any of these roles would be so fun, but in order to get cast as any kind of this role, then somebody opposite would have to be
compatible.
Yeah, compatible, make a good fit, or else you'd have to just find a different place, And so I thought, I don't even know if there's a place for me in the show, but thanks for finding the place.
Oh no, it was the neat part is that sometimes it just works out for the better, right? There's people that put on there, I want to be this role or nothing, or maybe these 2 roles or I don't want to be cast. And those are unfortunate, because it's like you miss out on the opportunity. But hey, there's also the whole idea of maybe it was a long drive, maybe it was too much work, and all they want to do is.
I've learned something a little bit about that too, is because I thought, I used to think, I heard about people that do that. I'll only do this role. And I thought, snooty you. Like, if I don't get a lead, I don't want to, this diva or whatever. But then I thought, no. Actually, it's an opportunity. It's worth it for me to do this because that's a stretch for me. That would be a challenge. That would be something that I could put on my resume. Or do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And doing any lesser role just wouldn't be worth the time when I could possibly do something that if they were really wanting to do that. So I actually learned to appreciate, people who put that on there, because then what's worth it to them. They're not necessarily trying to be all that. They just, is that worth it for me to use my talent in that way? when I have a million other things that I've had those smaller parts in, and I'm not looking for a social connection right now. I'm looking for growth in my, in my talent. So
right.
yeah, I thought, okay, that's admirable.
Or in my case, it's just like with a couple of people for this show, it was, I have so much going on in my life. Only being in a lead would be worth my time. Does that make sense?
And I'm like, if I have a lead, I probably can't do the show because it's too much for me. I'm too busy.
Yeah, no, I know that too. I know that feeling too.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are times where I am feeling like that. It's like, I don't want to lead. I want to be in the ensemble. I just need a social outlet. So that I can just play and go and not have to worry about it. Right. Yeah.
I'll learn it right the day before.
Yeah. So that's how it ended up, was just as we were working. And here's the interesting part, is that we let you guys go at 8:45 after the callbacks. Mm-hmm. And we were like, okay, we got to discuss this. We got to make sure that this happens. We were expecting to be up until like 2:00 in the morning working on different things. That out. And it was just funny because as an entire production team, we were like, okay, this person in this role, this person in this role, this person. And it just fell into place. Yeah. Everything just was like drop. Nice. And then we were like, okay, I think we have our cast. Let's start calling. And so we started making phone calls at like maybe 9:15, 9:30 maybe.
I got mine at 9:30 too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I mean, it was like immediately we were just calling people. Hey, will you do this role? Will you do this role? Will you do this role?
Did you have to shift some things after talking to some people?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wondered, because you kind of maybe want to start with the bigger ones, because if they don't accept that role, then you need to figure out what else to do.
Right. And so that's what we did, is we ended up calling the leads first. Mm-hmm. The Sids and the. Right. Of course, we knew that Sid and Babe would be who they were going to be, because they're married anyway, and so they wanted to do the show together. So it fit for them. Yeah, it fit for them. And the neat part is that they went out with friends that were in the callbacks, and so we just made one phone call and we got 7 people already.
So we stood outside in the parking lot for like 20-25 minutes anthen and until everybody came out, and they kept coming out and joining our circle. So there's like 4 of us at first, and then pretty soon there's like 10 of us. Then we're just talking, and that was actually a really fun moment too, just talking about it and how great everybody did and how fun it was.
Good.
And then they were like, oh, if we don't get out of here, they're going to start calling us. So we'll just be sitting here, and they'll call us, and we'll be like, we're all here. Just tell
us who got what.
Yeah, but they all went out to eat, and I just couldn't. I didn't have the time, so I didn't. But yeah, that's fun that you got to do all that in one shot with them.
Yeah, it was really neat. And so we had the entire cast, and there was only like 4 people left that we hadn't called, because we couldn't call them because they were in Footloose.
Oh, so they were during the show.
Yeah, it was
their night.
It was their night for doing it, and so we walked over we drove over to Footloose, and there was 3 of us. It was me, Becca, and Justina. Okay. Well, Justina was already at Footloose because she was stage managing Footloose, so she couldn't leave. So we went there, and we just sat all 4 of them down, and we said, okay, this is your role, this is your role, this is your role, this is your role. Do you all accept? Yes, we accept. 10:30. It was done.
Nice.
And so that never happens. I mean, Becca's been on several different, groups. Actually, I think Maddie came with us to Footloose as well. I think she did.
Where it will just go hours and hours and hours trying to decide.
Yeah, trying to decide.
So
as a matter of fact, I was just on a production team that it took them 4 days to cast the show, because it was that difficult to work through who was going to be cast in what.
And look, what is everything their role encompasses, and could that person handle that, and does that work with this person, and their conflict schedule, if you have that at that point, and my goodness.
Yeah, wow. So it was an interesting one. So, but it was fun. I mean, we had a blast, and then of course the very next day was okay, so here we go, let's start practicing. Let's start doing it. And so we just jumped right into music. Yeah. Becca, because she had some other conflicts that she had, I just opened it up and I just said, okay, for you guys to understand this is just going to be for fun.
Yeah.
I want you guys to come and play. That's really what I want.
Yeah.
Because as a director and as someone that has done shows before, those were always my funnest casts. Were when we just worked together and just had a lot of fun together.
Yeah. And it's a great cast.
Yeah.
Like Wendy keeps saying how nice it is that everybody gets along and that we all work well together. And that's interesting because I haven't been in a lot of casts of things like ever. And so for her to say that, I think, oh, she must be talking from experience of not having that.
Right.
You know, and being able to appreciate that, you know, we're helping each other. We like each other. We're working with, you know, all of each other's quirkiness.
Exactly. I mean, I've been in several shows where that's the case, but I've also been in several shows where it's like there is drama. Yeah. There is people that, you know, feel like, well, I'm, you know, the main character of this show, so don't come and talk to me, or, you know, that type of thing. Yeah, there's been that.
Yeah.
And that was something that I definitely wanted to squash at the very beginning. And so that's why I was like, okay, we're going to have fun. So if you're not here to have fun, there's the door. You know? It's like,
pick somebody else.
Hate to tell you, but that's the door. We're going to have fun. Yeah. And so it really did start out that way. And then on top of that, I mean, I just constantly, I sometimes feel like I'm doing it too much, but I say to people, if you have any problems, any issues, anything that comes up that you need to talk about because you're concerned about it, whether it be for the show or whether it be in your personal life, anything, we need to talk about it because we want you to be here focused. I mean, that's why I start out every practice with a breathing exercise so that it gets rid of. That
really helps.
Of course it does. Yeah, because it gets every distraction that you've got in the world, it's gone.
Yeah.
Because you're now going, okay, I'm here to just focus and have fun and just enjoy my time.
In fact, I actually started doing that before even going to rehearsal, just because I know that's where I need to be at, you know, and I just think, okay, I just need to breathe, let everything go, just go have fun. So,
but sometimes even just the drive, like what was it, Saturday morning that everybody was running late? I can't remember. Was it Saturday morning or Thursday night?
I was late.
I can't remember, but everybody was late because there was traffic.
Oh, the traffic was Thursday
night. It was Thursday night, and it was because they were doing construction or something on the freeway.
The road collapsed. There's a big sinkhole on the freeway, and so everybody had to go around. And during rush hour, so it was. Wow. It was right before rush hour. So it caused it like a 4-hour jam.
Yeah, and so you have people that are. Oh, it'll take me 45 minutes to get there. It ends up taking an hour and 45 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
So we started late, but here's the funniest part about that. That was Act 1.
Mm-hmm.
And we got all the way through Act 1. And Act 1 is always the longer act. Because it takes more time. And so it was really interesting that everybody, I stopped everybody and I said, okay, we're just going to focus. We're going to breathe for a minute. We're going to forget about all the traffic. We're going to forget about everything here. We're going to relax this time. And that's when we went through the box breathing one.
Yeah, that was good.
So everybody was just, okay, we're going to just relax. Now we're ready. And then when they could focus, you can get through it. Fast.
You can. Yeah, it was really fun, actually. Yeah. Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit. So from a director's stance, now you had all this experience with, okay, this is how we do it. This is working with my team. I got to be kind of the forerunner in this,
right?
You know. Okay, now we're into the show, and so what have you noticed that maybe some things that have not been what you expected to be at this point, whether it be with the script or with the stage or with the cast or with anything.
One part of it is, I mean, I know the show, but there's always things that come up and I'm like, wait a minute, really? You do that? Hang on.
I wondered. I saw your face a couple times and you're like...
I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember that part. Why don't I remember that? And I've seen the show how many times on YouTube and I've watched it so many different times, but
and the stage play is different than the show.
It is. And they have changed it recently as well. And so there's lots of other things that
I was wondering. I thought, would they have written that in the 50s? This is a little something seems like they wouldn't have put in there.
Yeah, well, and then there was a reference to a derogatory term, and we have to remove that from the music. It was actually a music piece.
Oh.
And it was a very derogatory term towards
okay.
Indians.
Okay, so like
Because back
Native
in
American.
yeah, so back in the 50s and 60s, they used to call them Injuns.
Oh, huh.
And that's just as if you were to say the N word now to a black
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
So it's a very derogatory
No, I
term.
remember my dad saying that.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, I know. We did too. I mean, that was just the way that it was back then. So it was one of those pieces that it's like, it just seemed natural, right? And so we changed it. But here's the funniest part is that our Sid and Babe were sitting with our music director, and they were doing some fun little activity together. They do it as a group quite a bit. But they were sitting down, and this was before they were cast. So because they didn't even want to do the show if they were going to have derogatory terms in it and stuff like that. And she said, no, we're going to change all of it. And so they said, well, here's the term. And they showed her exactly where it was in the music and everything. And then our Sid, who's Joe, he said, okay. He got out his watch and he goes, I want to see how long it's going to take you before you can figure out some terminology or something different that you can sing in that space. Go. And she sat and thought for a second. And then she came up with 3 of them. And he goes, dang, that didn't even take you 30 seconds. And she had come up with 3 different options. And so it. This. Yeah. That's and good. So she and they all rhymed and fit right in with the music. So it all worked out perfect. I mean, it was like. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of language in this too. How do you think that will go over with the Utah audience?
I think, there's a lot of theaters that change those words a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you have an actor that is uncomfortable with it, especially if it's taking the Lord's name in vain and it's not a necessary way of doing it, then they will change it. Because, it's becoming more common in our everyday society, but in Utah, it's still a very harsh topic that people talk about.
So if the actor is fine with it, do you think that your audience would be fine with it, or do you have any kind of a what's the word? Concerns that your audience will be uncomfortable?
I do have concerns about that. I tend to ask, like, for example, I was asking Tia specifically. I said, what do you think about all of these? And is there a reason for us to be worried about this? And she said, well, it is becoming more common, and I think there's a lot more people. So
there's more tolerance
for it, right? Yeah. But it's still something that I think, especially with Utah, it's become much more of our culture to not do that. And so it's definitely been something of concern. And Becca actually brought it up that even in Footloose at Hopebox, and Hopebox is usually one of the better ones to not do it, even in Footloose, they let it go.
Yeah. And they did with the You and the Youth did it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's one of those pieces that it's like, I'm feeling like, I don't know, it's a battle. It is a constant battle in your mind as a director. Do I hold people back? Do I let it go? Do I, what do I do to make it a better situation? And I think I always default back to, it is something that I believe is an important piece to change, especially if it's not necessary. And so I'm almost a little bit more inclined to give it to give that role to somebody that has a problem with saying it that way, so that it does change it. Yeah. And that's my personal belief system, right? And so some other directors may do something different.
So you respect the role that the person and that person has for that role.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
Right. Good. And I'm okay with, if it's my parents once, when we were going through, this was a long time ago, maybe it wasn't my parents, I'm trying to think of who it was. I was talking with somebody and they said, if you're quoting something, which would be you're saying a line from a show, then it's not really swearing because it's a character that's doing it.
Well,
not
of course.
you.
And that's the whole thing about acting, is you're acting as this role, but the audience, it's entertainment for the audience.
Right.
So if they're an audience that's offended by a lot of that, is it going to entertain? So that's your kind of triangle battle that you're fighting here.
Yeah.
If, at least in our society, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so my line that I had, I'm glad I read ahead because I would have, and I just laughed. I laughed
when you said it and Sid couldn't say his line.
He didn't know where we were. That's not what it says. Yeah, I changed it, and then somebody said lollipop, and I just started laughing because I thought, I should have just, if I hadn't been prepared and read ahead, but I just thought, wow, because my sister's been at my house for the weekend, and she'd seen that. She said, oh, we used to watch all the Doris Day films, me and my friend when we were little.
Yeah.
So she said, I want to watch that. So we actually watched it this morning, and after reading through the script and having gone through it, and then watching it, most of that is not in it. And in fact, 7.5 cents, they say heck of a lot.
Yeah.
In the movie, that's how they sing it. And I was like, wow. I mean, they really, it is, it was done for a 1950s audience.
Yeah.
And now we look at it and I'm like, this is not a 1950s audience.
No.
But
it's true.
Again, some of it's okay, but they do switch even in the script. Sometimes they take the name of Lord's name in vain, and sometimes they just say gosh, and so it depends on, even with the same character or goodness. Yeah. So, that character could easily switch it and have it not be a big deal because their character says that anyway in other places. So yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Okay, so what do you foresee as this is now started, and it's such a short run, like 5 weeks to put this show together.
Yeah, and then
with the 1 week
shows.
That we've had, and then 6 shows,
and we're done.
And how do you foresee this coming together now that we've done it for a week? Are you getting nervous? There's probably still, what are your biggest concerns about being prepared?
There's a lot. The dance numbers are pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going to be cutting once a year, or not? Yeah, once a year day. We're going to be cutting almost 4 minutes from that, just because we can go up and have fun for 4 minutes. That'd be fine, and it'll work out if that's what we have to do.
Right.
But it's one of those pieces that I really love to make it more streamlined. Yeah. And let's just get it done.
So, but it's what we did. You already cut, right? You cut some, and then we did this.
Right.
Is that what we're keeping, or are you still going to cut some of the stuff that you've been choreographed already?
No.
So
what has already been choreographed?
So that because it was such a huge number.
Yeah. Okay. What has been choreographed is what we're keeping.
Okay.
And so if there's anything that we don't, or that, if we can't cut what we think we're wanting to cut, then there's going to be another 3 minutes of choreography.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, so cutting some numbers back will help you feel like, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah. Well, and we're talking about at dinner theater as well.
Right.
And so it's one of those pieces that you don't want to be there all night, just sitting and watching the show, watching people dance.
You cut part of another dialogue and song that was just restating what had already been said.
Yeah, and we have to figure out how that's going to work, because that one needs to be cut in the music itself. And so it may be that we record it and then record the rest of the music. So that, I don't know how we're going to do it. That one's one of those that it's going to be really difficult, because his song ends, but then there's music underneath the dialogue, and then the song starts up again and then ends on a higher note, type of a thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so it's,
how do you do the key change and do all that splicing?
Yeah.
But what about the set and the costumes? Do you feel fine about how that's going to come together?
I have to tell you that I've never seen a set person as capable and as up to date as Spencer.
Okay.
When it comes to this, he has got, and oh my gosh, maybe I can even pull it up and show it on the video, because it's the way that he's got the set pieces and everything that he does is absolutely incredible, because what he's doing is he's creating these incredible images of what the sets are all going to look like, and it's 3-dimensional, and it is all perfectly set up, meaning they're full size. So, for example, here.
What about actually getting it built in time? Do you have concern about
I'm
that?
not concerned about that at all,
good.
actually, because he's so good at what he's got. As a matter of fact, most of it he actually has set up. Let's see, titles, time. It's been a while since I've looked at that. There's got to be a way to do this. Anyway, it's one of those pieces where it's like, I wish I could just show everybody this.
Right.
But he has the entire set built out in 3D, and he's placed the objects that we're planning on using,
where
they're going to be, and everything. Cool. So, and he's already purchased all of the items. Like, we have a refrigerator that doubles as a wardrobe.
Very cool.
And he's already purchased the refrigerator, and it's one of those old Frigidaire refrigerators from the 50s.
I used to have one for a long time, actually.
He just bought one, and he took the door off, and he's putting it on this wardrobe, and it's going to double as the wardrobe in the bedroom for the I'll Never Be Jealous Again reprise.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to work for both of them. And so it's
very cool.
He's doing incredible stuff that's like blows my mind.
So you're
happy as done.
At ease with the set.
The set, I mean, it's going to be the one day that we all work on it that I'm going to be stressed about.
Okay.
Because it's going to be on Monday.
Yeah, I saw that was on a Monday.
Yeah, it's on, and it's going to be an all-day thing where we're just going to come in and we're going to help him however we can to build whatever he needs left to build. He's putting a scrim in the back.
Oh.
Okay, and then he's also got, and he's working on this already, but a Hernando's Hideaway logo.
Okay.
That he's putting behind the scrim that's going to only light up. It's an LED logo that's only going to light up for Hernando's Hideaway.
Yeah.
And so we show it twice in the show. During Hernando's and then at the end.
Yeah.
And so nobody's going to know that it's there until it's lit up.
That's cool.
So, and on top of that, he's got the RGB lights are going up on the top, across the top, so that he can do different colors in the background on that scrim. So it's something that's never been done before for Farmington. Wow. And he's already worked it all out.
That's so great.
When it comes to the set side of things, I'm really not stressed.
Good.
The props, we have a lot of props.
Okay.
And Charla is absolutely incredibly organized when it comes to that as well. That. She has an entire spreadsheet of every single scene and what every single person is holding.
Okay.
In the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And what is needed. I mean, she's
excellent.
Wow, yeah, she's just got everything in place. So
I mean, she's very good backstage too with the organization and here's where the stuff is and here's where it goes back
and make sure that you put it back where it goes back, or you will hear from her or Justina, and you don't want to upset Justina, as we talked about before.
Yeah, no. Okay, and what about costumes?
So costumes, I'm a little, just because I don't know Julie
that well. Have you met her
yet? We've talked, and she's already been going through the costume closet and everything to pick out what she needs.
Okay.
So I know that she's working on it.
Okay.
But it is one of those pieces too where she's like, we just, everything that we're doing now is just exploring and finding, okay, what do we need for this and what do we need for this, and then there's also the whole idea of the costume parade at the end. Everybody has to wear specific types of costumes for the end.
Yes.
And so
that's, I wondered, like, would it help her to have all of our sizes as she's looking? Because I thought, I wondered when they were going to do that, because if I was costuming, I would be like, I need to know what sizes I'm looking for.
Yeah. I thought we had that already set up.
I didn't see.
Isn't that on the Facebook page? Maybe it's not. I don't know. You don't know, because that's right. You don't go on Facebook very often. So let's see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just. And then CT is out of town, so she's just been having fun in Yellowstone. And then, anyway, let's see. Adam's family. So I thought there was a form on there. If there's not, I'm going to get it up today.
Oh, so we just put our own.
For the knives.
Oh, that's for the knives.
Oh, well, that's funny.
Yeah, I didn't see.
Anyway, I'm going to have to go through and look at it. Well, that's a good thing.
Oh.
Showing all those. Those are all cute. Anyway. I'm a little. Yeah, okay, it's not on there. So I'll make sure it gets up there this probably today. But we just need a form so that it shows everybody's sizes.
Okay.
And maybe she wants to do it herself, but I think she was just asking for sizes.
Well, generally. Okay. Yeah. Even that would help.
Yep. But yeah, I mean that's one. I think that's probably one of my biggest concerns right now is the costume side of things.
Okay. Well, things always come together. And
so, yeah.
And this show will.
But like I said, the stress level for a director for a show.
Yeah.
My stress level is super low.
That's great. So that's what I'm wondering. How are you feeling about it? That you feel like you're not stressed? It's coming together. You have organized people you can count on.
I have super talented
cast.
People that are just, they know what to do and they know how to take care of it. And yeah, I mean, it's all good. There's just so much that came together so quickly and so easily that it was like.
That's good. And I think you find too, probably as you go, that people will come up with some solutions that you didn't expect. Right. Or things that will streamline or,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it is one of those pieces that it always seems like you get directors that worry so much about every single scene, and then it just tends to work out. And so I'm not that type of a director. I'm definitely more of the let's talk about the scene, let's see what pieces are missing, and then let's talk about how we can bring it together. And I've already talked to the cast about, let's bring the emotions in everything that we're doing. So now that you have blocking in your head, be thinking about your blocking as you're going through your lines. And then as you're going through your lines as well, just think, now what emotionally is my character feeling right now?
Right.
What emotionally am I?
Like how am I portraying this person? Yeah. With these things that are being said.
Yeah.
The interactions on these things.
Yeah, my favorite line, I think, from this last part, and Charlotte's putting together a list of quotes, by the way, from the show.
Okay.
And one of them is, "I don't want you to act."
Oh yeah, I don't want you to act. Stop acting.
Yeah.
To a bunch of actors. Stop acting.
Exactly. Stop acting.
Yeah.
You're acting. Stop it. It's going to be one of those pieces that's going to end up in there, but it is one of those that I believe in. I believe if you're forcing yourself to act a character, then you're acting, and I don't want that in my production. I want it to be more about we are portraying a character, but it's our emotions, it's our feelings. And by us portraying our emotions, our feelings, as if we were that character, then the audience will feel it more. It always works out that way.
Yeah.
But when you're acting, when you're trying to portray a character, then it separates you from that emotion, and it separates the emotion from the audience. Yeah.
I did sales in college, and I remember feeling that, and I don't know that it was taught to me directly, probably, but it was more of something that I learned in person, is when I was, reading the script and trying to get a sale and, sell what I was selling, get my things sold, and because that's what I was focused on, then I couldn't sell anything. But when I was focused on what does this product do for you? How is this going to help you? I can see how this could really help your family. Then it just like I could sell, you know? So I think it's that same thing. If you can get into it and see the purpose of it and feel that, like, feel it out and go, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm portraying. It's part of the story and making everything better, rather than, okay, I have to do it like this, and I have to say this, and I have to move my hand like this, then you get to, you can't sell it.
Right.
because
Totally.
you're selling on stage. You're selling the story, you
Yeah.
know, and you can't sell the story if you're awkward because
Right.
you're too worried about every line and every motion and every how do I like this?
More,
like this,
more emotionally. Yeah. And it's
right.
true. I mean, there's also the portrayal whenever I'm doing a show. It's one of those things that people will come up to me afterwards and they're like, Paul, I just want you to know that I recognize that you're being genuine when you're on stage. And that's a huge compliment because that's saying something when people are coming out and they're noticing that, for example, I played FDR. I studied the crap out of FDR. I mean, I listened to all of his fireside chats and things like that so that I could get his vocals down,
right,
and what his mannerisms were and that type of thing. And that's how I portrayed it on stage. And I had a guy pull me aside and he says, I don't know if you know this, but there are a couple of us that really loved FDR, and I studied him for a long time. And he says, I've never seen someone portray him as closely as you did. And I'm like, really? But I was still portraying him as if it was him, but I was still putting my emotion into it.
Right.
And so it was FDR, but he was my version of FDR.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I still played it very close
to
the real.
Well, it was authentic.
But it was authentic, right? And that's what I think that he was feeling, was that it was authentic. Yes. And he could tell that I had studied enough to be able to portray him. He could. And that is a huge compliment. That's a huge compliment. Yeah. Cool. Well, it's going to be a great show. Yeah, I think I'm super excited about it. It's going to be, I'm so excited to be in it. I'm so nervous about, I called you, I'm every day, oh, I'm just worried. Just because I just feel like I don't have enough time to learn this. Like, I got to know it now. I can't wait till this day, Yeah. But I just really appreciate how easy you are to work with and how easy it is to bring concerns to you and have you just know what to do, people well enough. So that's good too. When something happens in a cast, that you can just take them aside and manage it as a director and not as a, either an authoritarian saying, I don't care, this is how we're doing it, or as a, somebody that can get walked down, like, oh, you want to change that? Oh, we better change that. I mean, you'll change things so people can feel comfortable, but not to the point of manipulation, being manipulated for it. Or do you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, let's have you play this role instead of you if you feel bad about that. You know what I mean? It's like, no, this is how it is. Right. And so you have a really good balance between that, not being authoritative and not being easy to walk all over. There's a very big trust factor with you with your cast, which you have done a very good job at portraying to them. So that's admirable. I have had several people come up to me with concerns, and we've been able to resolve them. And that's good. And the neat part about it is that it really is about asking the right questions and asking the people what their real emotions and real feelings. And of course, it's a matter of being vulnerable to them, but also them being vulnerable for me as well. Yes. And being able to say, hey, I have a problem with this, and I would really like to get your feedback on it. What can we do about it? Right. And if they didn't know that you were approachable that way, they wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. They may not. Right. And then that's where little issues start happening, among cast members. And I think that's part of the reason this cast that Wendy has noticed we work so well together, that we don't have any, because we can say that. We can say, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. Or even if it's, I don't want everybody to know that I'm not comfortable with this, but can I pull you aside and tell you I'm not comfortable with this? And so I've seen that too. And just how you handle that all is just really, I think it's really helping a lot of people in the cast, just emotionally, that are struggling, or that, in one way or another. Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, it's one of those pieces that I practice what I preach all the time, right? Because I mean, I even on Sunday, I was talking with a guy who he bore his testimony in church, and it turns out that he's been in a gang since he was 13 years old. Wow. And knew nothing about the LDS Church or anything. He was raised Baptist and Protestant Catholic, something like that. Anyway, but he grew up with all of that environment of being in a gang and being, violent all the time. He said, I fought every single day, most of the time getting beat up between 1992 and 1999. And I said, you mean, no, wait a minute. You mean you fought during that time and it felt like every day? He said, no, literally was every single day. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a harsh thing to go through, right? And so we just sat and talked, and I got his perspective on how things changed in his life, and how all of a sudden it just turned from, I have this group of people that are protecting me, but I also feel like I'm in danger every single second, to now all of a sudden just trusting.
That would be
right?
That would be a hard thing to do,
right?
But in an environment where you can feel like you're loved,
and
then trusting can be a little easy.
And so that's what he's done, is that he's turned his life over to serving and being helpful. And now he goes around to different schools and talking to teenagers and stuff like that about what he went through to help protect it. to help protect them from it, and to help them get away from it. Because of that's what he's gone through. But again, it's one of those things where if I was closed off, the instant that he said something about being a gang member, I would have been like, okay, I'm done. Right. But he now has my phone number because he wants to come out and start doing plays and stuff.
Oh, very
and I'm
good.
like, I
you
love
should
it.
do that. Yeah. And you're right. I was thinking about your, passion for theater and what it's done to change, what you've seen it do to change people's lives. And I love that you've thrown yourself into this. And just the little experience I had, I can't tell you, I came home from auditions and I couldn't sleep for 3 days. I was so excited, and I think it's because for so long, since I was little, I've always wanted to do that and never felt like it was a thing I could do. I was discouraged because it was not a thing in my house, That's not what we did. And so I just grew up thinking that you're not allowed to do things that you love, some kind of, impression on my mind that just stuck there forever. And so, sure, I've done little things, and truth be told, with my orchestra, the thing, I have this huge summer camp that I do, and I run programs and organizations, and I'm over Granite School District in Weber and helping, get kids to play. And I just encourage them, this can be so much fun, and creating opportunities for them to perform on stage so they can, feel what it's like to create something as a group and feel good about it, And I kept going back to that, if you ever want to know why you do something, ask yourself why and answer it, and then ask that question why, and you keep asking why and why and why until you get down to just because. And I think my bottom line was because I didn't get that. And so for me to give that and let other people have that opportunity, that's been like, well, this must be why I'm doing what I'm doing. But now I have the opportunity to actually do something like this that I love, you know? And not just, well, I didn't get supported, but I want you to know I support you. And that was okay. I dealt with that. I still love all my people, but I don't want you to feel that. But now I'm starting to go, I don't know, maybe that wasn't okay. It's not okay that I don't feel, confident and that I didn't ever get the opportunity. Because it's still in me, So when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And it just woke something up in me. And my husband, like he told you, he's like, I've been trying to get her to do something, to see that in me, because he knows that I have. And it's not about acting. It's about letting myself open up and be vulnerable in a place that I just would never let anybody see. Because I didn't ever think it was okay, And so to be that, and not just have, I told him, and I was crying when I said it, I said, for me to be able to go up, first of all, I'm really glad nobody else was there when I auditioned. Not even, and you guys were there. And I did. I peeked in, and Tia was like, are you here to audition? I'm like, I think I'm just here to watch. And Becca comes over and grabs me and hugs me and drags me up in front of everybody and lets me go and says, here's where you're going to do it, and we're all going to stay here, and you just go. Exactly. She didn't even give me a choice, which I really kind of wanted to be there, but I just was it's so new to me and so hard, And then I was like, well, I'm actually really excited to do my monologue, because I had remembered about that, and I had it memorized from when I was in college, and I practiced it, and I was like, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to show off. I didn't want to, but it's not that. And I told my husband, I said, to actually have done that And not just, I said, the best thing, first of all, was as soon as I start, it was like my home.
Yeah.
You know, and same with callbacks.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't call my name. Please don't call my name. Like, I really actually don't like, I don't want to call my name. And then when you were like, hey, Carrie, you know, and I had to get up there, I mean, scared to death. But as soon as I stood up and started, I was immediately at home, and I felt like I should have been here a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know, it was something, a part of me that's always wanted that.
Right.
And so I think I just was like, I think I'm better at this than I think I am, just because I'm so comfortable here.
Right.
You know, and at home, even when I practice, I still hold back. I'm like, but I get up on stage and I'm a different person. You know, it just did something to really open something up in me that I understood more about what you felt when you were doing this and why you're doing plays and why you're doing theater, because you can help people find out more of who they are, love what they do. And this is another thing I told him. I said, to have all of them sitting there, 6 of you sitting there behind the table, you know, and I start doing Jabberwocky, and I was all of a sudden in your shoes. So I see myself here watching me instead of, you know, and what do I want you to see? You know, I want you to see the interpretation of this story like this. Right. And enjoy it. I'm like, I just want him to enjoy it. I want to entertain. Like, that's really what I want to do. Is just entertain, right? And so I get up there and do it. And not only was it just like, oh, good job, you know, but it was like, Becca, oh my gosh, I have never understood that poem until just now. You know? And I'm like, oh, like I'm more than entertained. I actually helped her understand what Lewis Carroll is even trying to do, you know, or at least my interpretation of what Lewis Carroll is trying to say. And I think that his whole thing was just, you know, take it how you will. There are a bunch of made up words that could be adjectives that can mean anything. So and nouns that could be anything, you know. And so to walk away with that feeling of, I did it, I entertained, I had so much fun. And most importantly, the people that were behind that table all wanted me to succeed and were cheering for me. And I wasn't getting any criticism of, why are you spending your time doing silly stuff like this? Which is what I grew up with. Do you know what I mean?
I get it.
And so I'm like, it wasn't even like I had to dismiss any negativity, because there wasn't any. It was all supported, and that's what theater needs to be. And I know not everybody has that experience, but I think what you're doing is fantastic, because you're spreading that and you're making it the thing. You know, if you can spread that to us, guess what we go do? Next time we have an opportunity to be in a cast or help direct or help, you know, be on a set or whatever, you know, we're going to spread that, because that's what it is. It should feel like family. You should feel that supported to be you and to do what you love, if that's what you want to do. And
to explore craziness every once in a while, just because we want to see it.
Be nuts and crazy. And, you know, I will tell you, so I'm going to tell you one of my good job for myself. So Paul does this thing where he encourages us at the end of every show to pat ourselves on the back and say, I did this really well. And that's really uncomfortable for a lot of people. Like, I don't want to say what I did good, you know. And so a lot of times we'll just point out what other people did or what the group is doing well, you know. But one of mine was when I worked with Kevin. On the polka. Do you remember how he just he could not get it? And he turned around and around and around, and he just couldn't get it. And instead of, like, you know, being like, you know, I thought, let's help you. Let's get this figured out. And I went over to him, and I didn't ask him what his fences were. I just grabbed his hands and I stuck them on my hips, and I said, do what I'm doing and follow me. And I don't know, something in me just said, that's what he needs. But he got it like that.
He picked it up
and then
instantly.
it was a success, and nobody felt weird, like, what do I say? Because you don't want him to feel bad that he's not getting it. You don't all want to wait forever until he gets it because he wasn't getting it. So I just think, what's a different way that he can help learn this? You know, and as long as you said, I might call you out on stuff. Thank you, because as a director myself with the orchestra and with other things, I tell my students that I might call you out, but it's because I want you to be able to know what to do better to succeed. And let's make those mistakes here. Make them big, make them loud, you know, so that we go, oh, let's help you fix that. Because then you get better, you know, and so we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. I point out my own mistakes, you know, so that they know that, you know, it's okay. But that was one that I I felt really good about, because I think I helped create more unity with our group by doing that, by including him and teaching him, and everybody saw it.
Yeah.
You know, and
totally.
and he was like so happy. He's like, I got it.
I got it.
And then when he got with his partner, he could do it with his partner too. So that was so great. Oh.
Yeah. No, it was totally amazing. So, just how you got through to him on his level and helped him on his level. That's an incredible piece. And I love how you did that. And then everybody else.
I was like, I loved that. That was so fun to be able to help somebody, so then he could be a part of it and enjoy it too, and not keep going, I'm not getting this, and have everybody kind of ignore him because they don't want him to feel bad, not because, you know, but they're like, we'll try.
Isn't that interesting how
let's learn how to do
our minds work? Isn't that interesting how we're like, well, I don't want to embarrass him because he's not quite getting it right. Instead of going, hey, come with me.
How can we do?
Let's work together and let's make this happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's try this way. Let's try this way. Let's try this way. And that's
the way the world needs to be more.
That's what I love the most about what I do. I love music. I love teaching orchestra. But mostly what I love. I also love baking. I love teaching classes. I love doing literature classes with kids. There's all kinds of things I love to do. And I used to figure out, like, what is it? What connects all these? I don't even know. Like, I just love so many things.
Yeah.
But I learned that what it is I love to get in their heads when they're struggling and go, how would you be thinking about, let's try this way. That didn't work. Oh, you're thinking like this. Oh, your brain is working like this. How can I get on your level and think like you're thinking, so then I can help teach you in a way that you understand, and then you don't have a problem with it ever again because you get it. And it's so fun for me to do that. Like, it's really like my passion.
Well,
I love it.
And the music, I mean, it turned out great to watch every single one of them working together
when
you guys did that whole dance.
It was so fun. That's why I was like, you're not cutting any of that we did, are you?
No,
because that was so fun.
Yeah, no, none of that is going anywhere.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you're doing an incredible job so far.
Thank you.
It's very fun to be a part of your first experience directing. And it's fun for me because I really don't know that I would be doing a show if you weren't directing, because I'm, just because I've been so timid with this kind of thing, and I feel so judged, and I feel so like I can compare, and you won't even allow any of that to happen.
No.
And so it's very comfortable to be here and just go, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to do my best, and it's going to be good. And he'll let me know if I need to change something, but it's out of love and out of like, let's help the whole thing be better. And so it's a really great transition for me into doing more theater and things that I love to do, because I feel comfortable with that with you. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And very good job. And I'm looking forward to another interview, because I want to do one right before, if we have time, just before we open.
Okay.
Yeah. See how it's
We might have to do it at the theater.
We might do it at the theater.
Yeah, just sit in a room or something.
Do a little phone interview. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul. And
absolutely.
You're doing a great job, and it's very fun to be a part of this.
Oh, it helps when you have people like you and the rest of the cast that are so incredibly talented, but just want to be a part of the family. Be a part of it.
Yeah,
just have fun and be crazy sometimes.
It's fun. Yeah, it's really fun. So thank you very much. And go watch Pajama Game in Farmington. And
Farmington, it opens on
October 6th.
Yeah, October 6th. Thank you.
6th, 7th, and 8th.
6th, 7th, and 8th. So
13th,
less than
14th, and 15th.
Oh, just tomorrow will be 1 month for us.
Yeah.
1 month away. So, yeah. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. And it's going to be an amazing dinner. So,
is it?
They're going to have dinner, and then at intermission, you get dessert. So before the show starts, you'll get dinner. And then at intermission, you get dessert, and then you get to watch the rest of the show and then go home. And
that's so fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
I haven't ever been a part of that, so I'm excited to be a part of that this year.
Yep, and we're going to have tons of interactions. You're not just going to be in the audience. You're going to feel like you're part of the show.
You're part of the show. You're part of the Pajama Factory.
That's right. So come and see it. And remember, Shakespeare said all of life is a play. The question is, do you remember your role? Thanks, everybody. Thank you.